Brought to you direct from Studio 3B at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, the American Hardwood Advisor is your source for trends, tips, and insights into how the building industry has evolved. Join me, Steve Stack, along with guest builders and industry leaders as we talk shop and go in depth on what it takes to be the best of the best. Dive into topics like architecture, industry trends, project plans, historical tools, tricks of the trade, and life's lessons from more than 6 decades of experience in the hardwood lumber business. Hey folks, Steve Stack coming to you from Baird Brothers Fine Hardwood, Studio 3B out here in Canfield, Ohio. I have a guest today. Don't want to refer to her as a guest, she's a friend. Miss Jessica Hickman Fresch from Hamilton, Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And the family group of Hickman Lumber. Welcome, Jess.
Thanks.
You know, we cross paths on occasion. Home and garden shows or passing through Hamilton, I'll pop in, and you're not at the office because you're down in Pittsburgh doing your thing for the company. But over the years, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, Hickman Lumber, they've developed a nice relationship, a business relationship, a friendship. Your father, Denny, and our Terry Baird, they're buddies, and it's funny how the companies parallel one another in that the thing that jumps out most, your 4th generation, and Baird's we're coming into our 3rd generation.
Yep.
And the storylines kind of follow. If you would, take me through the storyline of the Hickman family.
Yeah, so my great-grandfather, Harry Hickman Jr., he moved up from Pittsburgh area, is actually where he was born, and he moved up to Kennerdale area, Emlenton, when he was like a teenager and started working for a logger. And this was like right around like the Depression era then. And so he started the sawmill with a team of horses and met my great-grandmother. And, you know, they were secretly married in West Virginia, then like lived in the woods they have a whole cool story. My great-grandmother died a couple years ago. But she told me some of the stories of them living in the woods, you know. I mean, it was Depression era, so they were just cutting railroad ties and, you know, mine beams. And they had, you know, a little sawmill portable that they set up, and the horses cut it down and sawed it and did their thing. And then I think it was like 38 is when Hickman Lumber kind of officially got set up and like a permanent location where we are now in the Emlenton, just up the hill in Emlenton, between Emlenton and Clintonville in western Pennsylvania. And so he ran that. And then my grandfather, Pop Larry, who's in his mid-80s now, but still pretty active, officially retired, you know, but active just like, you know, Paul here all the time, right? And so Pop Larry, he went to lumber grading school, and he kind of went and worked for other sawmills for a while, you know, and then realized, you know, the other sawmills were making money and he could do it. Because I don't think Poppy Hickman was that great of a business guy. Like, he did it and he went, but like my grandfather, Pop Larry, was really the one that like started buying property and really grew Hickman Lumber into more of a successful kind of business. So he came back, partnered with his dad, and started growing Hickman Lumber. And then, you know, my dad, Denny, you know, really all he ever did was work at the sawmill growing up. And I think he thought for a little while that he was going to play professional baseball, and, you know, realized he wasn't that good. So he you know, did the lumber grading school, and actually he applied for a job in Hawaii to work for a sawmill in Hawaii when he got done with lumber grading school, and went through all the paperwork, and then they rejected him because they said, oh, well, you have a family business, so you'll probably end up going back for the family business. And so he kind of got thrown into that as well. But then, you know, Dad's really grown it with the dry kilns. He was the one that brought in the dry kilns and added that part to it. And then in 2000, he started the Allegheny Mountain Hardwood Flooring, and that was the flooring side of stuff. And I was still in high school at the time when that got started, and I was never thinking I was going to work, with the, I couldn't wait to get out of Western Pennsylvania. And in the sawmill industry, it was a total guy industry, and so it was never anything on my radar that I was going to work for the family business. And so I went to school, I studied international business and Spanish, and, did my own thing, had a couple different jobs for, a few years, and then kind of worked my way back. And Dad asked me, it was right after the housing recession in 2011, he asked me if I'd come back and help out. So I kind of officially joined in 2012, and I said, I'll give you 3 years to get the website up to date and kind of, help modernize things a little bit. And that's been, 10 years ago now that they got me sucked back in. And so that's kind of where we are now. We got the flooring side of stuff that I run. My brother Jake manages the sawmill. And so we don't have as many siblings, and stuff with ours. My dad, he was the only son, and he had 2 sisters that didn't get into the industry. And my brother's the only other one. There's 4 of us kids in our family. My brother Jake runs the sawmill, and I'm on the flooring side. And then my 2 sisters aren't involved with it at all.
Right, and you just gave me something that I didn't know about your father, Denny. He had his mindset he was going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So that explains to me how you, when you went to college, you went all over the world.
Yeah. Well, I studied international business, so that was, in Spanish. Well, I was with Rotary Club. I did an exchange program between high school and college. So I did a kind of a gap year where I lived with a host family in Costa Rica, which was an awesome experience. And that was like a big thing that made me appreciate Western Pennsylvania and America even more too. It was
Right.
being abroad, but you appreciate the little things that you didn't appreciate until you leave and you come back. And
you don't have it.
Yeah, and you don't have it. Can't flush toilet paper.
Right.
Little things. But yeah, it's I think it's good. I think it helped. My dad, we never pushed us to be part of, or that was our life. Hey, we're a family business. This is what you're going to do when you grow up. And I think it's better to get out and get experience elsewhere.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. We've seen the same scenario play out here at Baird's, and we have some individuals, second generation. When Lori went into the nursing field, and she worked the open hard floor up at Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was a matter of time, and she landed back at the family business. And more recently, third generation, Zach Baird. He was with a major tire manufacturer in the United States, well, worldwide, but he was United States, and a couple years of that, and he said, you know what, time to go home. And Sarah Baird, she was in the meat packing inspection business for the state, and she did a few years of that, and then she's back. And the great thing about it, and your experiences also, you came back to the family business a richer person.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I had added more to it, than if that's all I knew. I was able to, it's just, Baird's, I know they're innovative too and stuff, but it's people get stuck in their ways, and this is how you've always been doing things. And, it's tough sometimes to get that new ideas, but you need some outside. If you, just go into it, oh, this is what we've done, this is always what we've always done, and we're going to keep doing it like this. And they were, still sending faxes from the sawmill to the office when I started.
No, and I've experienced that. You just read some of my timeline in that back in the day when we had the sawmill operation here, it was sawmill operation and pallet building. And and then it evolved into the molding and the dry kilns, and then second generation came in with some new ideas and some new thoughts, and they had to sell it to the first generation. And all of a sudden there's a BairdBrothers.com website.
Yep.
And same with your family and the Hickman group, and now that's evolved, and we're places where we never thought that we may be. I know with you, you've been very successful in your and I'll call it a niche flooring market, because you manufacture a very high-end flooring product, kind of a specialty flooring product. You've done a fantastic job of networking with architects, designers.
And working on that education, and that's something that we do, is that education with the architects, designers, with specs, and homeowners especially. I mean, ultimately the homeowners can make the decision, right? So you have to get the homeowner to understand why there's that added value. White oak from Pennsylvania looks different than white oak from Kentucky. It's just like drinking bourbon, right? There's a top shelf and there's a bottom shelf. Does the same job at the end of the day if you drink a bottle. But there's a reason people spend more on top shelf stuff, right?
Your father's daughter.
You have experience with that. Do you?
No, and it's so true though.
There's differences, and if you don't understand the difference, then you don't,
Yeah, and you mentioned your brother Jake. When did he come in?
So he did some construction. He went to Penn State. And then after school, he got into construction and lived on the road for probably 3 or 4 years doing road work, construction and stuff. And before he came back, he worked at the sawmill more through high school and college in the summers. But, so Dad was like, you got to go do something else. We can't just come straight into it just because you're the boss's kid. You have to add some value to the company. So that's what he did for a few years.
And again, I think that's huge. Just like you used the analogy of Costa Rica and Western Pennsylvania, go away for a little bit and see how nice it is at home.
Right.
And the same thing with kids in a family business. Go out, see the world. Take your hard knocks. And when you're ready, come back and contribute to this family business.
Right, and because I know, Baird's got the same philosophy. I think you're not going to get a job in a position just because of your last name. You have to add value to the company, or, because, your whole team is dependent on you, and you're not just going to,
Very much so, very much so. And for folks that aren't familiar with you in our audience and Hickman Lumber, you've got a nice website up and running, very informative. And what all does Hickman Lumber do today? I know you still have a sawmill operation.
Yeah, so we're, sawmill, and we're mostly trying to do, white oak, red oak, and soft maple is really all we're wanting to cut and run through our dry kilns. If we get, so we manage the forest as well, right? So we manage we own some property, and we manage a lot of private landowners as well. And if we ever get some poplar logs, I'm pretty sure Dad calls Terry and says, what size do you want to cut? And, and so we don't even, we'll cut it, but we won't spend the time in the dry kilns with it. So we're specializing in the rift and quarter sawn and live sawn lumber. And
go ahead. Go ahead. You gave the
so this live sawn cut was cool. This is something that we started cutting this lumber. Well, because with a quarter sawn logs, to do true rift and quarter sawn, you need logs that are at least 16-inch or larger diameter logs, right? To do that quarter sawn, you're actually cutting quarters and you're working your way out. So I know Dad and Pop, they were trying to figure out how to get logs, a lot of times the second or third log of the tree that are 10, 12, 14-inch diameter logs, and get more quarter sawn out of them. So the thought was, well, live sawn, which is an old sawmill term that you just cut straight through the log, and then they were going to rip out the center, and you left with a couple of narrow quarter sawn, rift and quarter sawn boards, right? We started doing it, and it's just like, this is really beautiful looking stuff. You get some of that quartered figure up in there, you get the mixed grain and a lot of knots and character because they're the second and third log of the tree where all the branches are. So you get a lot of this cool character.
Right.
And so we started making that into flooring early 2000s. Live sawn, we were the only game in town selling something called live sawn flooring. And we started doing it in 2000 and like mid 2000s, like there's a couple contractors that picked up, so we're getting more photography of it, getting that name out there. 2013, I wrote an article for the NWFA, the Hardwood Floors magazine, explaining the different cuts and how they're cut and, the specifics with it. And now you see live sawn all over the place. There's, live sawn. I mean, your LVT floors look like live sawn. And it's sort of a European oak cut too, where you get the mixed grain and stuff, but still that live sawn was kind of originated with us, our sawmills.
That's a good comparison in that the European side. I mean, a lot of things developed through necessity.
Yeah.
And you didn't waste.
Yep, right.
Right, and in the live sawn process, there's minimal waste.
Right, and you're using this. And so this is something else that we are FSC certified, Forest Stewardship Council, right? And so that goes back to how we've managed the forest and that's sustainability on that end. And, and then, it's nothing different than we were doing before, but basically we can sell to a museum or we can sell to somebody that feels good that it's got the stamp on it. I mean, really, any kind of wood product from eastern Pennsylvania or eastern United States is pretty sustainable, but we've got that third-party verification for LEED projects and things like that. And this is the type of product that FSC should be promoting, utilizing the stuff, because a lot of the FSC jobs that we get are museums that want 8-inch rift only, where, you might have to go through for 10,000 square feet, you got to go through, 500,000 board feet of material to get that, right? But they want the stamp on it that it's green and sustainable, where, utilizing what the tree and what your manufacturer produces, and it's still beautiful, And so that's, if they want that FSC stamp, I mean, that's something that when I got into it, trying to do more of that education. So doing the tours and the lunch and learns with the architects and spending time with people, talking about that. And if you really cared about being green, then, this is the type of stuff you should be doing. Well,
and we've in conversations prior, we've touched about the being green, and we always say around the facility here at Baird's, we were green before government agencies stepped in and came up with the term green, and in utilizing a natural, renewable resource, and it from knowing us that we use everything. It's never scrap. We produce a lot of different things. We produce some byproducts, and those byproducts are used in a responsible manner for everything down to the sawdust. The pallets that products come in on, they're ground. They're used as an energy source for dry kiln heat, for buildings, being heated. And I know you guys are the same way. From your bark mulch that you create in the debarking process. The
sawdust for the kilns, everything. Right. The wood chips go to paper factories. It all.
And that's what I say earlier. Not only the companies parallel each other, the families and the philosophy parallel each other quite a bit. And folks will they'll say, well, why is Baird Brothers talking to Hickman Lumber? Or why is Hickman Lumber talking to Baird Brothers, right? There is such a mutual respect between the two companies.
And I'm pretty sure Dad today is getting some doors delivered that you guys are making. He's for his cottage.
That's exactly where I was going.
That's happening.
I mean, you guys have created a great niche wheelhouse that you stay in, and you're very, very good at. And Baird goes a little different direction in some of our product availability in the doors and the moldings and so forth. And we try and stay in that lane. And between us, we need live sawn. Who we talking to? We're talking. Terry's talking to Denny Hickman, and and it's a back and forth relationship.
And even that's what Dad said about setting up when because we'd sell a lot of lumber before the flooring plant started. We sold you guys a lot of lumber and still do some. But, Tara was a big help and, just figuring, helping us set up and figure things out. And that's what I've, always said about, I've enjoyed being in the wood industry because there are so many good people that just like help each other out and, and it's just, we can all grow and be better by, helping other people grow.
And you don't find that in every industry.
No, I don't. I mean, everybody I meet within the wood industry in general, it's just like, it's a unique thing, I think. And even outside people that see us in, they're like, you guys are kind of weird.
And I don't know what it is about, and I'll say it, us folks. I've had the opportunity to travel, like yourself, numerous trade shows, and one of the trade show circuits that we travel, it was called the woodworking shows, and it was anything from guys with a little table saw set up in their garage and a crosscut saw, to doctors or surgeons that their hobby was woodworking, or professional furniture builders. They attended these shows. They all had a mutual respect for what each other did and the product they used, an appreciation.
So maybe this is a theory I just came up with, and maybe we should start studying it, but like the health benefits, right? They're talking about the health benefits of being around wood. Maybe it just makes people nicer people.
No,
and it's just like they're calming. I mean, because that's one of those studies that they're showing, the biophilic design, is how there's like, you get, the healing benefits and the creativity, but maybe it just makes people nicer because they're calmer. I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. We'll have to talk to some people higher up that can do some research on that for me.
I'm going to throw it out there, and I could be the guinea pig. Okay. We do a little segment back here at Studio 3B with our workshop, Build It with Bairds.
Okay.
And we have a couple partners that we use. One being Oco Mill Works over from New Brighton, PA, and they come in, or Christy comes in, and together we'll build a project.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're right. At the end of the day, we have worked for 6, 7, 8 hours on a project, but when you leave, it's like, that was a good day.
Yeah, you accomplished something.
You accomplished something. You created something with your hands.
Yep.
The other thing that comes to mind is when we were doing a little build out, our contractor, our finish contractor, had a man go down on him. He says, "We're at a standstill for a couple weeks." He says, "Steve, I need a helper." I says, "I got my tool belt. Let me go up on the scaffolding." The best 5 days I have spent, and I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Because you're concentrating on what you're doing, and you see it come to life.
You're not looking at a computer screen all day.
Right. So there might be something there. That'll be your book.
Yeah, jeez.
Right?
All right.
So go into, the sawmill operation. You still sell lumber.
Yep.
The next big plateau you guys hit was, let's make hardwood flooring.
Yep, and that's, so that's been growing, we're still pretty much in that, we do pretty much solid unfinished.
Don't minimize it. Don't minimize it. We're still in that.
Yeah, but we do some cool stuff. We've been in projects. We've done, I'm working right now with flooring for the Penn State Art Museum. Donald Trump Jr.'s been to our sawmill and done the tour. We've got flooring in the Trump Towers in New York City. We've got flooring in the U.S. Supreme Court. I think Brett Kavanaugh's office, they did a couple years ago with a herringbone, ripped and quartered white oak herringbone. Vice President's mansion. We've got some Hollywood musicians, and we've built a reputation with some installers and stuff, and that ripped and quarter sawn that we do, and it's solid unfinished is primarily what we're making, just kind of keeping it, but we make a really good product with it, and
again, here we go back to the common bond between these two companies. You left out two names. That little TV show, This Old House.
This Old House, yeah.
We've both shared experiences with them, and then that other one out of Pittsburgh, restored by the Fords.
Oh yeah, yep. Leanne Ford, she's done a handful. Right? Oh yeah, you guys have done some with her too as well. Yep.
So we cross paths a lot, overlap each other actually. How and I'll speak for myself and Baird Brothers. Our experiences with this old house have been extraordinary. Again, woodworking people, and a mindset that, okay, quality product in, quality end result.
Yeah.
And that's, how simple is that philosophy?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we've been fortunate in that relationship, and it's starting to be repetitive in what we're doing, but you guys, you've been around, what, 70 years, 80?
Yeah. So at 20. Yeah. What's the math? 40. So it's 60, 70, 80 years.
Yeah, that's and
yeah,
because we're at 62 years. We've experienced a lot. You mentioned 2008, 2011, the housing downturn, and
housing downturn. A third of the sawmills in Pennsylvania went out of business.
Yeah.
And so it's not an easy industry to be in.
So, having said that, no, you know what? I know your family lives by it, and I know the Baird family lives by it. You get up in the morning, you put your work boots on, you go to work, try and make something good happen, right? And we've been through the roller coaster ride of the housing industry, which drives the majority of our business. We're coming off almost 24 months of something this country has never experienced in our lifetimes. In the COVID pandemic. Did you guys see that change your business model, or how did you shift gears to stay in production? And
yeah, I mean, it was, so, that was something early on, Governor Wolf, with the shutdown. I mean, it was sawmills and secondary manufacturing were non-essential for a few days, and but the paper mills and pellet factories were open. They were essential, but they're dependent on us, right? It's all dependent on each other. So anyways, we had a couple days that we were supposed to be shut down, but that all, so we were kept going, but the demand's just been insane, and and the supply chain issues, and I know with engineered right now, the Baltic birch, like all the Baltic birch, all the logs, even stuff that was maybe plywood that was made in Poland or Finland, all the logs were from Russia. So we're not getting that anymore, right? So, I mean, it's just American made, American products milled here. There's just an increased demand for that. And trying to get more production out is the issue. And I think it's, I don't know, people been in their houses and they want updates and refresh, and so I think that's part of it. But I think there is a growing demand for U.S. source products, just because it's local, it's here, it's made, and it's just so it's just that getting more people into the industry, like to help work work in this industry, in the wood industries, from the forest, making sure there's more loggers, to the sawmill, to the secondary manufacturing. I think that's as a country, we need to help encourage young folks to get into those industries.
And I agree 100% on all fronts. And we here at Baird's, we experienced what I describe as the perfect storm. Going through the early shutdown, we went through about a 2.5 week company-wide shutdown.
Oh, was it that long?
We went old school, separate, leave this thing, burn itself out within our facility, and then come back to work. Thankfully for a fantastic workforce that we have here, dedicated employees, workers. We came back after 2 weeks with about 85% guys returning voluntarily. And because, like you, we were deemed in Western Pennsylvania as non-essential for a little while, and then that changed, and that allowed our drivers to go over and our salespeople to go into Western Pennsylvania. But what happened was people were stuck at home. You weren't allowed to travel. You couldn't travel.
Right.
You couldn't go on your vacations. You had your money saved up for your vacation.
Yeah.
And the husband and wife, they're sitting around having conversation, and they're saying, well, let's do something to the house.
Right.
Let's put hardwood floor in.
Yeah.
Let's do an accent wall.
Yeah.
Let's switch the interior doors out. And, you know, thank God that we had the workforce that was able to supply that demand of what we were seeing. And because it was a worldwide pandemic and the supply chain issues, we saw a product that you mentioned earlier, poplar, go crazy on the demand end because people couldn't get the medium density fiberboard, the MDF moldings out of Venezuela and some of the other foreign countries. So they needed a paint grade product. You know, we manufacture what we consider a very nice higher end paint grade product in finger jointed poplar, pre-primed, ready to be installed and finished coat painted. And there was a point we couldn't make it fast enough, you know, and it was a good problem to have.
Right.
But you know, so the COVID, you know, it made us shift gears to service our local retail customers. You know, we went to a hands-free will call, order online or order by phone.
Yeah.
Prepay, pull in, come to the will call at the front of the trim building. Don't even get out of your car.
Yeah.
We'll load it for you, and out the
Nice.
gate you went. You know.
Yeah.
And we had to tweak it a little bit, you know, to make it more efficient than what it was prior to. But we did, and we learned from it, and it made us better in that end of the retail side.
Yep.
And coming out of it now, you know, the white oak is just crazy.
Yeah.
We've
been pushing red oak like crazy. Red oak rift only, rift and quartered. Red oak is, you know, and we've been selling, actually our sales right now from red oak to white oak and the rift and quarter sawn, we probably have more sales in red oak, rift and quartered right now than white oak.
And that's a good place to be.
It's great, yeah, and it's great because, I mean, red oak, nobody wants red oak, but then the price value of it and the availability of it, there's a lot more red oak trees growing in Pennsylvania than white oak, and, you know, your whiskey barrels and wine barrels need white oak, so we're competing with those guys for the big logs, same way you need for quarter sawn. And the red oak that comes from our region is really pretty red oak too.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Know, it's in the tight growth rings, and you know it's a nice color. It stains well. So we've been doing a lot more of that, and it's easier to get rift. I mean, that rift only cut. It's crazy how that people want that look, especially wide plank rift, which is really difficult to get wide plank. I mean, you know this, but a lot of people don't by how it's the logs cut. Wide plank rift. Kind of an oxymoron, but it's easier to get in red oak because the medullary rays in red oak are smaller, so it's easier to get that rift in the red oak. And
that's a beautiful product.
It is.
It's drop dead gorgeous product. And you and I, we just spent some time together down at the Pittsburgh Home and Garden Show.
Yeah.
In both our backyards, in your front yard, and we were talking, and both of those species, the red oak and the white oak, they have their own characteristics, and coloration is one of them. But when you go, whether it's a flat sawn red oak board or a flat sawn white oak board or quarter sawn or rift sawn, they stand alone with a clear finish on them. They have their own identity. But you and I've had this conversation. If you're on a stain scale from 0 to 10 and you're in a 3 or a 4, the red's going to give you a very similar finished product. You get into a 5 or a 6, you're going to have an educated eye to tell whether it's red or white.
But then your pocketbook for that red oak's going to be a lot less than for the white oak. So it's,
right
when
now,
people start looking at that, it's a good alternative.
No, but it hasn't let up.
No. It's the white oak's still way. I mean, in that that higher end look, that white oak is still just the wide plank, crazy.
I know you have established relationships with architects and designers. What do they feel, or what do you feel has fed this white oak craziness?
I mean, it just goes with everything. I mean, white oak is just really versatile. I mean, you could paint this trim purple and that white oak would look good with it. You know, it looks good with walnut, it looks good with cherry. It does, you know, just that natural warmth of the white oak. I mean, it really is it's a really beautiful wood. I mean, that's what I put in my house. You know, I've been pushing red oak like crazy, but you know, I put the white oak in my own house. But just that neutral, that warmth, and you can get it lighter too. You know, I mean, that's a popular look too. You see that like adding a little bit of white to it instead of just a clear coat to make it look unfinished. You know, that real matte, that unfinished. You know, that's and the finishing companies have come a long ways with making a product that you can finish it to make it look like it's unfinished.
You know what I like in the businesses that we're in? I like how many companies are out there making imitation products trying to make it look like wood.
Right.
I think that's the highest compliment.
It is. Yeah, that's true. Yep. This is what the ultimate goal is for the look. People love it. I mean, that's universal.
And they can get pretty close, but they can't get the feel.
They can't get the feel. Nope. And you know, and then who knows what off gases and toxins is putting in your home with some of that. You know, I mean, there's a Healthy Materials Lab. Healthymaterialslab.org, I think, is the website, because I'm the Living Building Challenge. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's kind of like LEED on steroids, where they want to use healthy building material. So they want to use sustainable. LEED is all about like green source products, right, and making energy efficient. Well, then healthy building. What is it? Living Building Challenge, that's what it is. Living Building Challenge is talking about more like how do we build homes in environments that promote your health, right? So even like in commercial buildings, making the stairs more accessible. So you take stairs instead of escalator or elevator type of thing. So anyways, I've been researching a lot of this and reading it. I'm thinking about building my own house someday, and led me to this site. It's called healthymaterialslab.org. And it's like big, stay away from that plastic, the laminate imitation. Like, it's some of the most toxic chemicals made with this, you know. And it's like, I mean, in a lot of that green community, there, you know, you don't reheat your food and like your kids' baby food in plastic, right? Because the chemical oscars. So it's crazy to put plastic all through your house that you're living in, you know, and it's terrible for the environment. It's bad for your health. One of the early things that actually got me reading more about this was a vet called to like talk about flooring, and she went to flooring, and she started going on about it, and she said, I don't have proof, but I see a lot more cancer rates in small dogs than I ever used to, and she thinks it has to do with some of that plastic imitation flooring, you know. And so these small dogs, she's like, the cancer rate's been through the roof in the last 5-10 years, and she's like, there's no way I'd put that stuff in my house. And that's what she was looking for. Flooring.
It's common sense. Natural product.
Natural
product. It did its job out in the forest, and it serves on for an eternity inside of your home.
Yep, it literally is a win-win, you know.
Yeah, right. So what do you see down the road for Hickman Lumber and Allegheny Flooring?
Oh man, there's 9 grandkids now that could be 5th generation. So I don't know. They're all pretty young, but I think we're just, we're growing. We've got some new equipment ordered. It's, things are back ordered a year out for normal things that you need. So it's slow growth, but I mean, I don't see things slowing down for a while. I think it's all good stuff.
Well, you mentioned new equipment.
Yeah.
And it's that reinvesting back into your company. Bairds are very aware of that. They practice that yearly. Mm-hmm. And new technologies. I equate our production, whether it be an interior door, hardwood floor, and I know you guys are the same. You've made a comment in the past that if you can get a customer to your booth at a trade show and they walk up and they put their hand against the flooring, they're sold.
Yep.
They're sold. I relate that back to the manufacturing practices that you guys have, the manufacturing practices that we try to instill here at Baird's. all the technology, all the new equipment. It's fantastic. It might make a job easier.
Yep.
But our products come down to the human eyes and the human hands.
Yep.
And you guys manufacture a beautiful quality product, as does Baird's. And I think you're right. I don't see it slowing down. And even if it does, good companies like Hickman Lumber and Baird Brothers, they always find their way through it.
Yeah.
So 9 grandkids.
Yeah, that's Dad's got 9. Yep, I only have 2. That's plenty for me, but yeah, there's 9.
You have Grandma Jane as a full-time
pretty much
sitter?
babysitter. Yeah, she pretty much has kids there a couple nights a week, anyways.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Hey, continued success to the Hickman family. I think you know how we appreciate you and the family and the business, and I think there's a lot more exciting stuff down the road for both companies.
Yeah.
And you know what? In the not too distant future, we're gonna have you back, and we're gonna have you drag Denny back over.
Let's get him and Terry
Right?
here together talking.
Yeah, that'd be a great
It'll
conversation.
be hunting. It'll be a whole hunting podcast.
We got to do it. We got to do it. Folks, thanks for joining in today. Great conversation with our friend Jessica Hickman Fresch from Hickman Lumber. Follow along with them. Follow along on our socials. And until next time, hang in there, folks. We'll be back. For all you folks listening, thanks for talking shop with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to stay up to date with the American Hardwood Advisor series, give us a like and subscribe. For more tips, projects, and inspiration, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or at bairdbrothers.com. Until next time,